It was the first thing that I produced at all. I didn't produce the Thursday stuff, but I did. The way that we knew our producers was I did intern in the studio before Thursday. So from the time I was like 16, I was doing like 90 hours a week in the studio.
What?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I was obsessed. So, I would watch like a hawk how all the records got made, even if they weren't Thursday records. And the thing that I gravitated towards wasn't like hanging the mics or sweeping the mic, the amp combs to make sure that they, the amp cones to make sure that you got the right part of the frequency. It was, I really, really took to the vocal coaching, guiding people through their melodies, guiding them through the different moods that they could sing them in, trying to provoke a response, an emotional response.
I don't think that's like a in studio like role that I've ever even considered.
Yeah, I think that it's a pretty big part of some producers, but not all producers' jobs. So it just depends on, how old school you get a producer that does stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess it also depends on like if the person needs that or if you think they need it or what your relationship is with that person and like what your working relationship is like with them.
Well, the great thing too is, if they don't need it and they're really good already, then you've really got like a lot of room to provoke them and see what else comes out if they're already good. And that was the case with Gerard. I could tell he was pretty good, but he was so shy at first. And once he started opening up, it was one of those things where I remember very clearly, and I don't know if I'm jumping in too early here to this stuff, but I remember really clearly that Gerard had a tooth that was like coming out. It was like rotten or something. I don't know. And the dentist had given him like a bunch of narcotic painkillers. And so he was singing kind of like loopy and dopey. And I remember Alex, who owned Eyeball Records at the time, just like slapping him right where the tooth hurt, taking away the painkillers and being like, you should be in pain. Like, don't numb this down, you know? And that was like, it was ruining his performances. But then I ended up with the bottle of pills. And so I remember like while I was seeing how good he was, I was like a little bit high. And I remember turning to Mikey, his brother, who's in the band as well, and saying like, yo, you guys are going to be huge. And he was like, you think we're going to be like Thursday big? And I was like, dude, you're going to be like Good Charlotte big.
Too big.
I was like, dude, he didn't believe me. He was like, we'll never be as big as Good Charlotte. I was like, I think you're going to be bigger.
Okay, I just want to say, like, I consider Thursday bigger than Good Charlotte. Maybe at the time.
Maybe now.
Yeah.
But they had like platinum records and stuff.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean? They had radio hits. We were kind of like weirdos.
Yeah, they were very like radio friendly.
TRL.
True.
All that stuff. Yeah. Were you guys were never on TRL. I think you guys were like on MTV2 at that time a lot, right?
Yeah, we were like MTV2 darlings, but we did do one of those. I think we were like, I think we were on TRL, but it was so brief. I actually don't know if it was supposed to be brief or they talked to us for 5 minutes and they were like, who are these nerds? You know what I mean? Because we were just like so young and kind of like, we had never gotten media training. We weren't ready to be on MTV.
Yeah.
So we would just kind of be like, I don't know. And they, let's say I don't know on
it's
MTV.
Like not like great TV, really.
Yeah. So like Thursday is almost 25 years old now, right? What are we at? Like 23 years?
98. So yeah, we're at 24. Yeah.
24 years.
Jesus.
It's been such a crazy like last 10 years even.
Yeah.
Because like I remember in 2010, I think you guys were like calling it quits.
It was 11, but
2011. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, Thursday is breaking up. And then a few years later, you guys got back together.
16, yeah.
And then again, were like, these are the final shows again. We're done. And then how did it revamp again after that? Because you guys invited me. You guys invited me to like the final shows. They're like, we want you to come. You guys invited me. I was so fucking stoked.
I was like, I was like, I can't keep doing this.
And then
this
Sonny was like,
crazy.
then you guys were like, it's actually not the final show. Sonny, sorry,
like,
I know
we're done when I say we're done.
I keep trying to break up the band because I'm like a huge Cure fan, and like basically every tour he breaks up the band. No, it's not conscious like that, but I do get very stressed out by how hard we go when we're on tour. Every show we have this pact of like, this is the last show. Play it like it's the last show. Leave it all on the stage, And so I was like, this is good. Like, the reunion tours, like the celebration of the 20 years of being a band, like this is perfect.
It's a good note.
Like let's leave it here.
Yeah.
And as soon as we tried, then My Chemical Romance were like, no way, dude, we're gonna get back together. You have to play with us. You're our favorite band. You're our like big brothers. Like you gotta play with us. And also, what are you, stupid? Like they were just basically like, you're bigger than you've ever been now. Why would you stop now? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so
wow, the student has become the master.
oh yeah, clearly. They're way smarter than we are.
Yeah.
Dang. I remember I like was thinking about anything I wanted to talk to you about today, and I just wanted to tell you about the first time I heard of Thursday.
Okay.
Which was I was in 6th grade in the lunchroom, and there was a guy who was like, I think an 8th grader, and I thought he was really cute. He was like edgy, you know, and he was wearing a Thursday shirt. And I like developed a crush on him. And
as edgy boys do.
Yeah, of course. That's how I knew he was edgy, actually, by the graphic tee. But that's why I listened to Thursday. I like got it off LimeWire.
Yeah, literally everybody did.
Yeah.
I think we got paid more from LimeWire than we do now, so it's all good.
I remember I saw you guys at Warped Tour one time. I think it was in New Jersey. I'm not sure. I think it was like Englishtown Raceway, like 2004 maybe.
Yeah.
And you were just like, hey guys, download our music. We don't care.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, cool. So I actually was doing something that was okay.
It was like, fuck it. Download it. We don't care. I don't buy it. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, we had been in such bad contracts.
Right.
We were just like, why do we care if the label makes any money or not?
Yeah.
How old were you when you put out your first record?
19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I was watching some.
Not doing anything cool at 18.
I was watching the documentary about the guys who recorded you first, like Sal. I mean, not about them. It was about you guys, but Sal and those guys.
And Tim.
And they were talking about how like the first album with you guys, they were like, oh, we don't know what's going on here. And then like the second album, they're like, holy shit, this is really like
they didn't get it really at first?
Dope.
Yeah, the first album was like a favor to me because I had worked there forever.
Yeah.
You know? And,
so they were just kind of giving you a chance.
Yeah, and there was one song, like I remember when we recorded This Side of Brightness, they all kind of looked at each other like, this is kind of good. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? But they were still sort of like, there's no way, like he's our intern.
Yeah,
There's
you were
no way
like
this
little
is good.
brother mode.
They had like so many like offensive nicknames for me working in the studio, you know, because like Stormtroopers of Death and like all these like all New York hardcore bands recorded there before us. Yeah. It was all like hardcore bands.
Like who?
Agnostic Front and like there were, you know, a lot of.
And these guys were just the the engineers or producers for that kind of music, or all kind of music that came through.
Yeah, so Sal was in Murphy's Law, and he was like the time was like a hardcore producer, but he was always. I worked for him, so I knew he was interested in so much music. It wasn't just that, you know. And Tim, who owned the studio and mixed all our early records, and just passed away. He's a genius. Quite a personality. He was like the loudest person in any room you could put him in. He was giant and he had a huge loud voice, and he was like a prog rock guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of the crazier stuff that we were trying, he was like, oh, well, I've heard something like that before. And I think what you want to do is, he was a drummer too. He'd be like, I think you want to put that guitar part on the downbeat of this measure. And then on the transition, when you're going into 3 for a second, then all this stuff that we didn't know what we were doing. He knew what we were doing. He
Like
was like,
the
that's
theory,
cool.
like,
Yeah. He'd be like, that's cool, but you're in the wrong key for that. If you're going to do that, then you got to switch to this key here.
Yeah, like you're playing 3/4 and you're playing 6/8. So
he kind of just like took all the chaos that was happening. He's like, this could make sense.
Yeah.
It takes a prog rock guy to do that, I think.
And it was cool because it put me in a position where I was the opposite end of the spectrum, where I was like, this is punk rock, it should be chaos.
Right.
And he was like, it's prog rock, it's new wave, you sound like The Cure and Yes and like King Crimson, you're doing all this weird stuff, you don't even know what it is.
Right.
It should be controlled. And so fighting with chaos and control on the two ends, it was like, it put us in a good place.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I was listening to, in high school, I was listening to like, you know, Choking Victim and stuff like that. And like some of my favorite of that kind of music sounded like literally no one produced it.
Totally.
So to hear you talking about, like, there was like a Leftover Crack album that sounded like they used a tin can as an amp. Like,
yeah. And our first record came out on the same label as like, you know, I Hate God and stuff like that. And all the shows that I used to do in my basement were like His Hero Is Gone and all kinds of really truly chaotic stuff. And I always saw Thursday as being one of those kinds of bands, and nobody else did. But it like it's sort of like it shows you why, like, I thought we were that kind of band. And so, like, there's a lot of really weird, chaotic elements in the music, even though, like, a lot of our contemporaries who are closer to the kind of stuff we play don't put those elements in.
Yeah.
It's because I didn't know what genre.
Influence.
No, I just literally didn't know what we were doing until people would be like, "You guys sound like this," and I'd be like, "No, we don't."
I think like the verse in "Understanding in a Car Crash" was the first time I ever heard like guitars and like you're saying, like prog elements used in like that context. I guess it was very it was just something so new that I've never heard before. Is that like something that you guys heard before, like in the hardcore scene? Because it was like, I think like, I don't know, that song's the second one I heard from you guys. The first one I heard was Crossed Out the Eyes, and I saw the video on MTV, and I was like, yo, this shit is fucking lit. The video is really, really cool. And I was actually watching it the other day, and it still like looks so good. But what was I talking about?
The verse.
Proggy. Yeah. So like the first verse with like the bass and the guitars going crazy. Like with all those like effects and everything.
So the way that I saw it, because I didn't acknowledge any of the prog stuff for a long time, and then I kind of came around to after the fact, I was like, oh yeah, I know what he means. That does kind of sound like a King Crimson part or something. You know, oh, that does sound like early Genesis, like whatever.
Genesis.
So, but the way that I saw it was like, so all the bands that we would have through, you know, if it was like Seisha, You and I, if it was Orchid or like Reversal of Man, you know, all these bands, like, all played like this really chaotic stuff, but we were all like really into like gothy stuff too. None of the bands sounded like that, but we were all super into Joy Division and The Cure and Bauhaus and Susie and the Banshees. And I just thought like, I bet we could put some of that into the music. So that was, that was kind of my idea, was to like put some of the chaos against the like romantic side of the kind of goth stuff. And
well, it's cool because then, like, even though you sort of ascribe it to, like, not understanding your own genre, all these young people listening to it, it makes them want to go seek out stuff that sounds like that. So you're, like, getting people excited about music maybe they wouldn't try to listen to otherwise.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah.
It's a positive spin.
Yeah. I saw you, I think the first time we met, we both went to, like, a Clams Casino.
Oh, yeah.
Concert. Yeah.
What year
was that? The super late one?
It was like, I think it was like 2016.
Whoa.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Was that the one at the like Shemansky's or wherever? Or was it the earlier one at
Yeah, I think it was like it was on the place on Wyckoff Avenue.
The cool like artsy DIY space.
Yeah.
That show was amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the venue?
I forgot what it's called. It's like a really small venue. Like I think it's near Ridgewood, right?
Trans-Pecos?
Trans-Pecos,
yes,
thank
exactly.
you. I was like, why can't I remember
Clams Casino played Trans-Pecos.
And it
was during his peak also. It wasn't like
That's crazy.
No, it was like he played like I'm God and everything. It was it was unreal.
Yeah, that song is ridiculous. Did he like sample you one time or something?
Yeah, on the first Clams Casino EP, he sampled my voice from this song brought to you by a falling bomb.
Wow.
Nice.
Which I had the EP on vinyl because we were friends with, my partner and I were friends with Robin, who did Triangle Records. And so we had the vinyl of the thing, and we had listened to it a bunch and loved it, and I never knew it was me.
Are you serious?
And I...
Did you distort it, or how could...
I think I just like tweeted about like Clams Casino or whatever. It's like pitch shifted down. It's like chopped and screwed kind of, you know? And somebody was like, it's only because your voice is on it. And I was like,
wait, what?
Yeah. I had no idea. And then I went back and I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely me.
In on that song, I'm God, that big one they had, that's Imogen Heap, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
love that.
Which I think may have been a little bit of an issue for a minute there.
Oh, really? Like they didn't clear it?
Because it wasn't on streaming for a really long time.
It just became available like a few years ago on streaming.
And it said when it became available on streaming, featuring Imogen Heap. So I think probably behind the scenes some like negotiation.
That's probably what took a while for it to get on there.
Ariana Grande covered an Imogen Heap song on an album she put out a few years ago.
She did like Hide and Seek or something.
No,
right?
she did Good Night and Go.
Oh, Good Night and Go.
I remember the track list came out and I was like, Good Night and Go. There's no way this is an Imogen Heap interpolation or whatever. And it was.
She ruined it. I heard that once. I didn't like it.
She added a verse,
Do you feel like she's always been an Imogen Heap fan, or like is she somebody who possibly like heard
I don't know, she's
the
like
Clams Casino one and was like
possible, yeah. I mean, she's like
she's
like a theater kid, low key. So I feel like it's possible it would track.
Like a Disney theater kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were making Full Collapse, Was that your first time screaming? Is that you like screaming in all like the parts and everything?
Well, we had screamy parts on the first record on Waiting.
Right. But I guess they sound a little different.
Yeah. I mean, to me, Full Collapse is a much, much better. There are some people who are like, Waiting, and I'm just like, what? Like, there are things that I like about Waiting, but it's so clear to me, like, Full Collapse is like a quantum leap forward from Waiting. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But no, everybody screams on Full Collapse. Tom's on there, Steve's on there, and then on Cross Out the Eyes, like at the end of Cross Out the Eyes, that's my old roommate Tom, who is in a great band that's playing with us when we play. We're playing a show in Jersey with them. They're called Hundreds of AU, and his band at the time when we were living together was a band called You and I, and they were like this classic, like New Jersey hardcore scramsy, whatever you want to call it, kind of thing. They influenced everybody, and I just did a piece on Seisha getting back together. This and another basement band, and they were talking about like, it's so crazy. We were practically on You and I's coattails the whole time we were a band, and now we're like suddenly selling out all these shows. It's really weird that people aren't like You and I were the best. But anyway, Tom did a lot of the screams on Cross Out the Eyes, and he's got an amazing voice. I love his voice.
Yeah. I really like this subject matter that you guys talk about I'm talking about Thursday now, not I like the No Devotion subject matter, but it's a little different.
Yeah, for sure.
The subject matter in Thursday, you're really like, you're not tackling things that like an emo band would usually talk about or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Were you like, I guess you probably didn't think you were even making emo. You were just
right.
You weren't just like, this is how emo should be. You're just like, okay, this is what I'm gonna say. What were you thinking when you kind of go into like the poetic type vibe where maybe there's like a lot more metaphorical, not so direct vocals like we're used to in that kind of music?
So when we were all doing the band and stuff, I was still in school, and I was going to be a teacher. That's what I was going for. But my concentration, was English and poetry in particular. So a lot of my classes at the time, I had this really amazing, there was this amazing honors program at Rutgers Livingston campus where if you joined it and tested to a certain level, you had no required classes.
Nice. You just have to
I just
go
took
around
all
being
electives.
Smart. Yeah.
I took like poetry, dance in the body. It was like one of the classes I took, like a course called literature, the other at the time, that taught Edward Said and Orientalism, and read a lot of James Baldwin, and just really that time period, like I was thinking a lot about narrative and who gets to have a voice. This is like 98, 99. I had a really wonderful thesis advisor named Miguel Aldrin, and he had a place called, before he passed away, he had a place called the New Rican Poets Cafe. And so he got me really, these people were like really like opening my mind a lot about what writing could be, what it could do, and
influenced the lyrics a lot.
Yeah, so around the time of Full Collapse, I was writing a thesis about narration in lyrics.
Oh, nice.
And so Full Collapse was the result of a lot of that. And there's, the main perspective is a collective perspective on Full Collapse. Most of the lyrics are we, if we run far away, all that kind of stuff. And so the few times that I comes into it are really like different poignant moments. And I think like that's one of the reasons why I don't want to feel this way forever in
Hits.
Understanding a Car Crash Hits, is because there's no other like I on the record. So for a moment, like the real feelings of the narrator, the singer, whatever you want to call it, break through.
I never even thought of that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I texted Sunny like an hour before I left to come, and I knew about Thursday, but I didn't really know anything about you as a person. And I was like looking at Wikipedia, and it was like cites Bolaño as an influence, and like it made it clear that you were kind of like a poetry head, and I got really excited about it because that's fucking cool.
Yeah,
and
Rachel's a poetry. What do you do?
I guess poet, yeah.
Awesome, yeah.
Poetry.
A poetry head.
Poet, yeah.
So yeah, I just got excited. That was really cool to hear you talk about that.
Yeah. No, I love that stuff. I love what you can do with words. I think that there's one school of philosophy that sort of says that language comes before reality. You know, you would think something happens and people came up with a word to describe it. But then there are other things that because people came up with a word for them, the idea spread and it became a new reality for other people because suddenly they had a concept. They had access to the concept that they didn't have before.
That's something to work on.
Yeah, ability to talk about it too.
Yeah. So like, you know, the famous story that everybody uses to illustrate this is melancholy. As soon as the word melancholy came about, when they coined it as a word, everybody had it.
Yeah.
Right.
All of a sudden.
As soon as they knew what it was, they're like, I have that.
Right. It's like like when ADD dropped.
Yeah. New word dropped. Everybody get in.
Everyone has it.
Can I ask who some of your favorite poets to read are?
Yeah, currently, Matthew Dickman is my favorite living poet, and he has a beautiful book about the suicide of his older brother called Mayakovsky's Revolver. And it's so unbelievably lyrical and beautiful. And he actually has a twin brother who's also a poet.
Whoa.
So 2 twin poet brothers, and they were also the precogs in Minority Report when they were like young
No
kids.
way.
What is that?
Have you seen that movie, that Tom Cruise movie?
I did, but I don't.
They were in
The little
pool
kids
with,
in
like,
the
cool.
jelly, the ones who
Yeah.
aren't Agnes, or these two.
Yeah, exactly,
twin,
Agnes and the two.
I watched it really recently.
So they're both like
That's insane.
incredible poets.
Are they from New England? That sounds like some New England stuff.
They're from Portland, but the one brother teaches in.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like having twin sons who are both poets professionally.
Oh yeah, for a while they were all in like the New Yorker and stuff. And it was like
yeah.
twin, you know, it was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But I also I think our poet laureate Tracy K. Smith, she's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff about her father and the Hubble telescope is really fantastic. In a little bit of a different twist that I think some people would say is prose. I think Darcy Wilder's literally Show Me a Healthy
I just
Person.
texted her this morning.
She's the best.
I was
Darcy's
reading
incredible.
I was reading Thomas Merton book on the train this morning, and she recently got confirmed as a Catholic, and so I was texting her about it because I knew that she would like some of the stuff I was reading. That's so funny. I'll tell her you said that.
Yeah, I know her a little bit, but it was the case. Like I've had so many other times where I just was kind of obsessed with her books. I was like, I'm gonna become her friend somehow.
Yeah, she's great. It's a good book.
Yeah, I read her book, and then after I read it, I gifted it to someone who really needed to read it.
Good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. I think I gave it to that person at the right time because after they hit me up, they're like, "Yeah, thank you for this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, a book can do that.
Yeah, and I'm really not a book reader, but everyone was like talking about that book when it dropped, so I had to check it out.
It was a big deal. Yeah.
What are you reading right now? I wanted to ask you before, but I also wanted to ask you on the pod, so I held it in.
Well, I was a little what am I reading over there? I think it's called The Great Believers.
Some hardcover.
It's I got it from the library.
Woo!
When a book gets to be a certain amount of famous, and I know that the authors made their money off of it, then I'm like, okay, I can
join the 62-person waiting list at the library.
Because I don't feel bad anymore. But if it's like a small book, like I'm gonna buy it because you know. Authors don't make anything anyway, so
true that.
But let's see, what do I really like? I've been reading a lot because I was sick. We had to cancel some shows, and I was pretty sick. So I read The Flamethrowers by Rachel Kushner, which is great. I read I'm not going to talk about that one. It's too insane. Chelsea Hodson's Tonight I'm Someone Else is like really, that's like a big one for me. I really love that book.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading a bunch of old stuff. I haven't read anything contemporary
What have you been reading?
in a while. I read Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence.
Hot.
Super hot, dude.
Hot.
And then I read about all the obscenity scandals all across the world. And then I read My Antonia by Willa Cather.
Okay, I haven't read that.
And it's really nice. It's really good. And then Of Human Bondage by Somerset Maugham. So I've been in a certain time period for a long time. And now we're in Thomas Merton land.
Yeah, you're keeping it real.
Yeah, for real.
I got really into through Darcy and through one of her friends, Carvel Wallace. I got into Joy Williams.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with
her. Oh, and you mentioned James Baldwin. I just read Go Tell It on the Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
As a pastor's daughter. That was a good one.
Oh, look at that. All right.
Didn't know going into it that that's what we were dealing with. So
I wish I knew what you guys were talking about.
It's okay.
We're going deep over here.
We're going deep.
I don't. Yeah. Sorry. I just don't have the knowledge.
Right. You know everything about Thursday that I don't. So we're even.
I don't know.
And I think we all.
I think Geoff.
Do you know Darcy also too?
I know her, but
no.
I know her, but I don't know if I probably met her one time or two times, but like we follow each other on Twitter.
Yeah. Cause you guys were both at that the Music Hall of Williamsburg show that we played.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's dope.
I did a reading with her like 3 months ago, maybe, and it was the first time we had seen each other in like 2 or 3 years, or talked, and it's really nice to see her. So she seems to be doing really good.
Yeah, she's doing great. It seems like I haven't seen her in a minute, but
yeah, those shows I really like. I listened to the live albums that have been coming out. Really good
from those shows.
Yeah. Oh, it's from those.
Yeah, it's from those particular shows.
Oh, the ones you were at.
Yeah.
Nice. Wait, you have some shows coming up
because we had 4 in a row there, so that gave us
4 options.
It gave us the nights to get it wrong or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
yeah. So it was damn. So it was.
I mean, you always get it wrong, but it's like which out of these 4 is best?
You want to choose?
Right. Was it? So it was like 2 nights of Full Collapse and 2 nights of.
Yeah. So the Full Collapse one and the War All the Time one were both from there.
Damn.
The thing that's interesting about the live records, I think, is, a lot of people now treat live records like a re-release of the record.
Right.
Just it's like all fixed up. It's all cleaned up.
It's all produced and it doesn't even sound like
sound live.
Yeah.
So we would be like,
that's what I liked about yours.
Oh man, this is a big fuck up in this song, but like that's live music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Keep it realistic.
I like that you guys had I think, was there a mic on the crowd?
I think one of our mics the first night, one of our mics from either the drums or the guitar cabinet
just like
ended up into like it was like kicked towards the crowd, and afterwards our engineer was like,
let's put this in.
We got to keep this here. This is great.
I love when you can hear crowd noise on live music. Like it doesn't hit the same.
It definitely gave me like, oh fuck. I was like, I love that they left the crowd in. I was like,
they left the mic in the crowd actually.
Oh man, sometimes when you leave, I love when you like when somebody actually because you give it out to the crowd to sing. Sometimes somebody will pull it.
Yeah.
And then you listen back to a recording of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't even know what the lyrics were, but you grabbed the mic with the confidence.
Right.
I want some of that. I'm going to have to get some of that.
I feel like confidence. I would be like saying secrets. I'd be like, hey, forever who's listening to this later. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I love that idea. That's a great
Leave
idea.
a message,
Have you guys ever played a show like after, let's say, I guess we'll say after War All the Time, where like you guys just like bombed, or like every song was just like
kidding? Yeah.
bad, and you're just like,
I thought you were saying on the album. I was like, Sonny, that's so mean.
No, I'm talking about live.
Have you ever played a show? Got it, yeah.
And it was like you can feel that like people looking at you like, damn, this isn't good. Or did you? What were you thinking when that happens?
There was like a year of shows, maybe 2009 or 10, somewhere around there, where we were playing better as a band than we had ever played. We were on fire. And it was like every night we'd go out in front of the crowd and they'd look at us like we were high. It was so weird.
Why? Because they weren't used to it?
I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was that we were still trying to like do kind of weird, like we had started doing what we thought was like a weird experimental idea. And once that caught on and other bands were doing what we had been doing 2 years earlier, we were like, well, that's boring now. We got to keep pushing and find something new. But we had pushed past what like our crowd wanted to hear from us, I think. And then we had also ended up on tour with the like younger bands who were like sort of taking the style and making it more pop. So we would end up on tour like with Bring Me the Horizon before us.
Yeah.
And there'd be like 3,000 kids in the room. And then we'd play. And there was one night where so many people left that I was like, I'm going to count how many people are left while I'm singing. Because like I know the lyrics so well that I don't even have to think. They just come out.
Yeah.
So I was counting. And like halfway through the 5th song, I was like 125. Wow. There were 3,000 people here, and now there's 120.
And they came for the opening band?
I guess.
I mean, it was like a huge lineup.
Co-headliner,
so there were like 5 bands before us.
Oh, yeah.
And then one night, and this was also the most demeaning part of it, was like this tour was sponsored by Denny's. What the fuck is up, Denny's? And we'd have to go after the shows
to
Denny's on certain nights, where they would like have the crowd come to Denny's and watch us eat. It was so horrible.
It's so weird. It's like the last thing you want to do after a show.
Have you watched eating?
And their thing was like they had an up all night menu, which had like an understanding and an omelet or whatever. You know what I mean? They would have like one thing like named
they
after.
love those punny menu items.
Understanding and an omelet.
You know, It was something like that. But and I remembered, so I would sit and the thing is, it was all Bring Me the Horizons fans who would come to watch them eat and like scream and cry and stuff. And like I'd be sitting there just eating and watching the whole thing unfold. And I'd see people wearing Thursday shirts. And I'd be like, hey, do you like that band? And they'd be like, what band? I'd be like, the one, the shirt that you're wearing, you know? And they'd be like, oh no, this isn't a band. It's just a shirt that I liked. They were selling at the show tonight. And I'd be like, there was a band, the headliner band. They're like, this is the headliner band. I'd be like, no, didn't you see on the flyer, on the poster Thursday? And the answer that I got was, no, that's just because today's Thursday. And I was like, today is Saturday. But that's where it had gotten to in 2010. It was in this weird in-between place where like we were too big to play these small shows, but when we played too big with like bands that didn't have the context, we'd start playing to fans who just like didn't care, and we weren't part of the thing that was happening at the moment. It was like a really bad period for us, and we bombed a lot. And I would always know it was going to be a bad show. If I turned around and I just had like a fallen look on my face and Tucker did this, he would be asking me from the look on my face if I was just punching into work that night.
Oh.
And I'd be like, oh man, I'm just working tonight. Like this isn't, I don't want to be here.
If you're able to count to 125 while you're singing the song.
Yeah, then you're just working. And that was like, I think that was that wasn't why we stopped playing in 2011. Like there was like a thing that happened that we don't really talk about, but it was like a really tough thing happened to the band. One of the members' health went really bad. And, so it was like not even a choice really. Yeah. But for the year before that, every day I was like, I can't believe I'm still doing this when like nobody cares and like I'm away from my family. Like what am I doing? This is stupid.
It must be frustrating, especially because you said that like you were playing together as a band better than ever and it just like wasn't resonating.
Yeah. That was tough.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like which made you kind of think like, does it even matter? And this is the thing too. We play with big bands who like, you know, we had been on tour for like 700 days or whatever, you know, and just killing it. And we'd be on tour with bands who like seemed like they never practiced once that were killing it. And we'd just be like, oh, it doesn't really matter if you're good at this.
It doesn't matter if you play good. It just matters if the people are there want to see you.
If they're having fun and if they want to be there. And so like, I think there was just a certain amount of disillusionment because we were all sort of like working class kids that we just thought like you could work really hard and do really well, right? Or something. You know what I mean? Like, at the point at which we realized like, oh, this is sort of our job, we were like, well, then we should work really hard, you know? Yeah. And that was like that's like some American
pulling yourself
myth.
Up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, some American myth of like meritocracy or whatever, that we were, you know, suburban enough to fall for. But yeah, no, I mean, and then the break was great for us, you know what I mean? Like people got healthy and we got along again and we sort of just went back into it being like, if we're not having fun, we're not going to do it. Yeah. And that's it.
Hell yeah.
You know? Because we had all worked jobs in between. We were like, jobs are easy.
Compared to this?
Like, compared to like putting yourself out there every night, like to be ridiculed.
What kind of work did you do when you weren't?
So I had a few different jobs. I worked in a kitchen. I worked in a kitchen store, which is where I met my partner. She bought like a spatula off me. And it was like, for me, it was love at first sight. She doesn't remember it very well, but for me, I was smitten. And then I ran a record label for a while. And then after the record label, I worked in PR for a little bit.
Interesting.
You're well spoken. I feel like you'd be good at that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I posted the new Anthony Green thing on my story the other day, and you commented that you were into it. The new Anthony Green album. It's so fucking
the whole
good.
record. That first song.
Oh my God. The first song. It's like I don't know. He really switched it up with this album. I listened to like all his stuff, but it's so different. And it's kind of like the chords coming in feels kind of like a victorious, like someone coming out of a war and like kind of winning.
Yeah.
I just think like
that's what I think about when I heard that.
I've always loved Anthony, and I've always loved how weird a lot of his stuff is.
Yeah.
But hearing him just write these like classic sounding, like they feel like you've known them forever songs that are just like great lyrics, great subject matter, amazing melodies, straight to the point. Like it blew me away.
Yeah, me too.
The way you describe it, it sounds a lot better than like my instinct just to say catchy, because catchy doesn't sound like it has any mastery in it. But yeah, what you're saying absolutely is what it is.
Yeah, he just cut to the heart of the matter, in that way of like, when a poet can be very spare, but it just tells the story the way it needed to be told. And you go like, dang, I wouldn't have done that.
Two words you don't expect in places you don't expect, and it just hits hard.
Yeah. I love writers who don't ever use like a big word.
Yeah.
And just get you.
Oh yeah.
Because they put it right.
I think that like so many people are turned off by like poetry because it doesn't seem accessible to them. So like doing it in accessible language is sick.
I
was also impressed that he managed to like use horns without making it sound like ska.
I was disappointed it didn't sound like ska.
Really?
No.
Ska. Were you ever a ska kid?
I wasn't.
No.
But now that I'm older, I think like, of course I wasn't a ska kid. I was so fucking serious and so sad all the time.
You have time for these upstrokes.
Yeah, like I'd see that stuff and I'd be disgusted. And now I'm like, man, look at all these kids actually having fun, right? Like I'm so jealous.
It's like what they say. It's like pizza party music.
It is. It's total pizza party music.
I've never heard that before.
I do like a little bit of a show sometimes for Up Rocks. Like I have this little video thing that I do for them, very short episodes, like 3 minutes or something. But we do like maybe like an hour and 20 minutes of like interview to get those 3 minutes or whatever. And we did Geoff Rosenstock.
Who's that?
He's like the ska revival. He's the guy.
Is he the guy like he makes like videos?
He's his band was called like Bomb the Music Industry, but his solo stuff is like way bigger. He opened up for us at the when we did the Free McCarran Park show. The big one.
When was that?
It was like it was Brooklyn Magazine has a festival called Northside Festival.
Yeah.
And so like in 2017 maybe or 16 we headlined Sunday.
Sick.
Yeah, it's like I think like Miguel did the night before like
Damn.
Who's that amazing saxophonist?
Wait.
He plays with Thundercat a lot.
Is it Kamasi Washington?
Kamasi Washington.
Yeah.
Headlined the other night.
Sick.
Damn.
And so it was great. 3 free shows in McCarran Park, over by the tennis courts.
Yeah.
And Geoff Rosenstock opened for us at those shows. And I was like, is Scott good? Or is he just so good that I'm like questioning?
Or am I just like less depressed than I used to be?
I have a basically happy life. I like walked to a show today from my house. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Like, it was cool.
They haven't done that in a few years, I don't think. Obviously COVID, but.
Yeah, but also Brooklyn Magazine went under for a second. I think they're back now though. So
I think they did it in Prospect this year, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was like Twin Sister played. And
they couldn't call it Northside Fest, though.
No, it was just Brooklyn Magazine Festival, I'm pretty sure.
One thing really cool about you, I remember one time, I think it was at like a Thrice show in like 2003.
Wow, Thrice.
And like, it was like Thrice, Under Oath, and I forgot who else. But I think you like came to the show and like did like some like guest vocals or something.
Oh, dang.
I think I've seen you like a few times just like come out and like just pop in when someone's like playing a New York show and just do some vocals.
Yeah.
On there. How does that,
I always do it.
How does that go down?
When Touche Amore comes through, I always do it with them.
Well, you have a song with them, right?
Yeah, and I put out that first record of theirs. Like I've known Jeremy since he was like 16. He had one of the first Thursday fan clubs.
It's insane.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, and so I've always tried to like look out for him and be kind of like, hey, here's a bunch of the mistakes that I've made. That's actually great. that the last song on the last Thursday record, Stay True, is for Jeremy. Like it's a song I wrote for Jeremy.
So sweet.
So like when you can, it's really it's a nice thing. It's a nice way to be a part of it, I guess. I mean, doing my own music, I don't get nervous because I make my band rehearse until like none of us have to think about it.
Yeah.
And even on tour, I like to keep set lists fairly consistent because I think music is best when you don't have to think about it. I'm not a big like, change it up, play something new. It's like, no, like make it a ritual.
Yeah.
And then lose yourself in it and try and help the whole crowd lose themselves.
So like mastery lets you have the emotion in it, basically.
Exactly.
Because it takes the logic out of it.
But when I guest with other people, I'm like a wreck.
Well, yeah, because you're like, it's like their thing, and you're stepping into the frame.
And sometimes they'll be like, just follow me for the change. It's a little different than the record. I'm like, no. I didn't sign up for this. I can't follow you. Like, what do you mean follow you?
Like, stare at whatever you're doing and just try.
Yeah, I think it's cool that you do that. I don't know, like a lot of people who would just come out and just like, even like for songs you're not on, just doing like guest vocals and stuff.
Oh yeah,
dude, it's the best when you see like so and so brought out so and so. Like it's just so exciting.
I remember like when we first like followed each other online. I think it was in like 2014. I was like, it was when you're like tweeting how you like Clams Casino. I was like, oh, you like Clams Casino, like like my music. So I sent you a beat and like a song that I made, and you just like tweeted it. You're like, yo, this song's pretty dope. Check this guy out. And
That's so
like,
sick.
And that was like the first time any like musician that I looked up to like ever acknowledged, like said this was good.
That's cool.
So it was like a nice little like a little tap, like it's pretty good. You should
Yeah.
So thank you for that, because I still kept making music.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. I mean, I had a lot of people tapping me on the shoulder when I was younger, so I try to keep that going and
pay it forward.
And also as a sober person in recovery, meant like doing service and encouraging other people to do their thing is like such a big, it's like a really good thing for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're a huge like person that's all about like community, and like you're not a very like me guy. You're very like you're saying, you're a very we guy.
Yeah, we guy.
I like that about you. I think it's like not a lot of people are like that. So that's awesome.
Good priority to have.
Yeah.
I think it also is like, it's like a product of where you've grown up and stuff too. You know what I mean? I have some very close friends that I love a lot and I admire a lot who are not we. And when I get to know them more, I get why.
Like their family or like their background?
Just like everything that's led them to the point where they're at now.
Do they have to probably like fiend for themselves or stuff like that?
Yeah, that, and also just a distrust of people, or
not
just
having community.
Not having it themselves, and just kind of being like, I don't know. I've also, part of my like community mindedness comes from like a deep insecurity about whether or not like I belong. I'm an only child, and like, so like belonging to me is more important than being good.
Yeah. Yep. My therapist actually just like has been encouraging me to find like new hobby or something to do with my time. And I was like, I spent a lot of time with the elderly when I was young because I'm a pastor's kid. So I'm really comfortable around them. I want to start volunteering with them again. And he was straight up like, it was just funny because if I summarize this, my therapist told me not to do too much volunteer work, but he was like, you have a tendency to give. I don't want the hobby that you create to be giving too much away, because that's what we're trying to get you to stop doing so much. And I was like, damn, my therapist just told me not to help old people. That's kind of fucked.
My therapist said, actually, fuck those old
fuck the elderly.
Just let them die. So, Node Devotion is back, you guys.
Yeah,
that's your other band that you have.
Yeah,
you started around 2015.
I think we started around 2014.
And who's in that?
Right now there's only 3 of us. There used to be 6. The last record there were 6 of us. And then half the band gone.
Slim down.
I'm the youngest one in the band, so that's why.
Not because we didn't both say wow because you're old or anything.
But yeah, it's interesting when like the youngest guy in the band is 43, the baby of the band.
Yeah, I really do like the first record. I'm happy it's back. I was looking for it like 2 months ago and it wasn't there, and it came back recently, and I was so stoked to listen to those songs again because they're so different. I forgot how different they are than Thursday.
Yeah.
And it's like we were talking about before, these lyrics are more like, they're more about like the typical like emo stuff people would sing about, and I like that. It's like a new side of you that we hadn't heard before.
It's this is the thing too, is I try and like when I was younger I wouldn't write about love or romance or any of those feelings at all because I hated the way other people of my peers sang about it. I really especially hated the stuff that like we would call like ex-boyfriend core, where it's like weird lyrics about like
killing your girlfriend,
kill you if you do this to me, and so I just always and then like I kind of just even hated like any lyrics about like about girls.
It sucks because like when I heard those lyrics as a 13-year-old, was like, yeah, fuck that bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like
that's why I hate them.
Yeah. Like, now when I hear it, I'm like, yeah, cringe.
Cringe,
But I was the fucking people there, you know.
It's really rare for it to be done in a way that stands up
poetic
to the test of time or like seems moral.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when I was starting No Devotion, I started thinking about like, you know, that's like the way I'm viewing it is sort of like throwing out the baby with the bathwater a little bit. And so I thought there were some interesting things, and especially like if you've ever read like Hanif Abdurraqib, he writes about like, he's got this thing, what's the blog called? Oh, geez, I can't remember the name of it, but he writes about music a lot. And he's talking about The Cure and how like The Cure is all about longing, and that like what he does is he catalogs like the distance between the way things are and the way that he wishes they were, you know, and things like that. And it really made me think, you know, there's a lot of different ways to talk about love.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try and explore it in a way that didn't feel like that. You know, it didn't feel exploitative. It didn't feel violent. It didn't, you know, because I think
didn't feel like you were angry at someone.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there. You know, when we were starting No Devotion, not only was I like deeply in love with my partner, but I was, you know, reading A Lover's Discourse and thinking about like, you know, the loved one and, you know, what that is and what it says about who you are, that you're in love, you know, things like that. And so a lot of the No Devotion stuff is like a really like, it's not it's not wide.
Yeah.
It's very deep.
Yeah.
It's very narrow. And I think that's the same of what our audience is too. We don't have a big audience, but the people who get the record are like, this is amazing. I love this record. You know what I mean?
No Devotion is like your most devotional project with your most devoted.
And that's on purpose because like actually like the subconscious doesn't. So this is part of the reason that I named it that is like the subconscious doesn't hear no. So like if you say no or don't do this or don't do this, it's actually like your subconscious takes it as like do it because it's actually being reinforced, which is like a lot of why people say like don't use negative reinforcement because like your subconscious doesn't understand it at all. So I thought like, oh, a band called No Devotion, it's like literally a devotional to some, you know, to some feeling or state of mind or a person or a love.
I thought I was just doing some wordplay.
No, you're in it. You're on it. You got it.
I like the song 10,000 Summers, like in the verse, the vocals are super low, kind of like Johnny Cash type vibe.
Yeah, that was just because of the key, but it kind of worked.
Like low in pitch?
Yeah, it's like
Leonard Cohen.
Take your car, but it won't run. So we wait for the train, but it never comes.
I was like, is that Geoff? Is that my boy Geoff going low?
Yeah.
I was also, you know, that first record. So the new one, it's called No Oblivion. It's like about not letting yourself fall into like a hole, you know. The first record, I was like blitzed on heroin while I was making it. So there's stuff that I probably wouldn't have done except that I was so high that
so it was kind of Johnny Cash.
Yeah. And actually, like, this is the thing is like, I don't think drugs always make for bad art. I think sometimes they can make for great art. But I was just not at the point where I was going to be making any art anymore if I didn't get sober. So
yeah. So you're sober now?
It'll be 5 years in November.
Yeah, I liked what you said about I have one of my really close friends is sober, and he recently told me a story about something he did unrelated to using. And he said, you know, after this happened, I didn't think it was a good choice. I called my sponsor because it didn't feel like a sober thing to do. Yeah. Even though he wasn't related to using at all. And so
100%.
I liked what you said about community being a part of living sober and reaching out to people and stuff, because it's not just about like restricting your own access to substances. It's like changing the way you think and live.
Like keeping busy, I guess, with other things.
True.
Yeah, we talked about the unstructured time a little before here. Like, I really like planners and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, it helps me so much.
Well, I think part of the appeal sometimes is the ritual of doing that kind of stuff, and it just like helps you stay structured.
I love ritual.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm starting to get into it.
I love when I love when I have like something to do every night after I'm done with work. Like, I was so excited for today because I was like, cool, we have a plan, we have a schedule. I know what I'm gonna do when.
Yeah. So anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
I do think the new No Devotion record is is one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I think it's September.
I heard the single. I really liked it.
Starlings. Yeah, I really love that song. Man, it's a very intense record. It's like very ballady oriented, and they're like these like sludgy doom ballads.
Sick.
Hell yeah.
And the record's so intense that we actually had to cut it off at 8 songs.
Wow.
Because we tried putting more songs on it, and this one's just so dark and such a heavy vibe that it was like, okay, 8 makes you feel like, wow, this might be like one of the best records I've ever heard. 9 makes you feel like, dude, these guys need to lighten up. They need to lighten up a little bit. Yeah, well,
you were like balancing the weight on the scales. Yeah.
And we had a couple like, because the first record has like a lot of pop songs on it. We had a couple of pop songs where we were like, maybe we should throw a couple pop songs on. And it like ruined, you know what I mean? It like needs to be this little tiny like disintegration by the creative.
Like a little tungsten cube.
Yeah, exactly. It's compressed.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
So we're excited for that.
And probably, like that band is cursed, so probably no one will hear it. I mean, literally, it's like
it's been a wild ride.
Those guys' last record, right? Like their last band,
right?
Singers in jail for the next 30 years. Like
Lost Prophets.
People will never listen to them again.
Yeah.
And also like people who would like No Devotion would not have liked Lost Prophets.
Well,
it's such a different vibe.
Different.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how did this band come to be even? That's what I don't understand. Because you guys, even like Thursday and Lost Prophets,
we wouldn't play together.
Yeah.
Hell no.
No, it's not the same. I know enough to know that.
When they had that catastrophic breakup, I was at my friend's restaurant, which was the first Mission Chinese food on Orchard Street.
Oh yeah.
And we were like hanging out, shooting the shit. And a friend of mine walked in, Karen, and we were talking for a few minutes. Like she's always been in the mix. She's a music person. Worked for Depeche Mode, worked for a bunch of people, and she was like, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh my god, wait. You were part of the management team for Lost Prophets. Like, you got to tell me what the hell happened.
Give me the tea.
That is so insane. And she was like, you should sing for their new band. And I was like, do you think that I want to paint a target on my back?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I would never. And she's like, I'll just send you the songs that they're working on. I was like, you can send them to me, Karen, but like, I never liked them. I like those guys.
Yeah.
So you knew them.
I knew Stu. I knew Mike. Like I said, those two guys, lovely. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really sorry this happened to them. That's tragic.
It is a horrible thing.
Like, legitimately. Yeah. And, like, all those guys have kids and stuff. It's like, it's a horrible thing that happened to them. But I was like, I would never, And she's like, I'm just going to send them to you. And I didn't listen to them. I stayed true to my word. And I was on tour with Vinny from I Am the Avalanche and Movie Life. And we were just driving around in a car. And I told him the story. And he was like, yo, play him for me.
Listen to him. Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, you want to award.
Yeah.
So we put it on.
And it was tight.
And after the first one, he's like, yo, would you give me Karen's number? You're not going to do it. So let me, and like, we listened to the other songs and I was like, oh, shoot. This is so good and not what I expected at all.
Yeah.
Because some of the songs ended up on the first record. And so we rolled with it that way. And I ended up putting out the record and we were getting all this airplay in the UK and it was like really going well. We were selling out our first few shows and stuff. And then the day that the record came out, the label collapsed from another controversy that we don't even have time to get into probably. But the label collapsed, the record falls out of print.
Damn.
We win album of the year after the in the UK after the label no longer exists and nobody could listen and we didn't know who had the rights to it. It was like one of those, it was just a nightmare. It wasn't even on streaming services. Like it was literally nowhere. And so finally we got the rights to the record back and we made another one and we're putting it out, and I fall off. We were supposed to have our first 4 shows, the band again. I fall off the stage and break my leg and need surgery.
Oh God.
Then we finally get it rescheduled for the end of the year instead of the beginning of the year. Go out on tour. I get sick.
Oh my God.
It's just like one of those things. It's like,
So did you get to play any shows since after
played
COVID?
2.
Okay.
But like,
Where
I got
were they?
so sick.
Now I'm nervous for you.
St. Vitus.
Album is coming out.
Yeah, but this is the thing is like I keep thinking like, I don't know. I think it's just the price of making a record that I love this much is that it's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
So, that's sometimes you got to give a little blood, sweat and tears,
Before we go, first of all, obviously,
Yo,
you sign this.
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
I'll sign it.
Oh, you gotta get signed.
What record is that? I've never seen that one.
I don't know.
He's gonna have to sign that outside.
I think it's pretty good. It's by this. I don't know this band. No one really knows them.
Oh,
but
you got a silver Sharpie too. You were like thinking ahead about the colors.
it's just the only marker I had.
Oh, that's perfect.
All right.
There you go. You know how to.
You know how to write your name?
It's O. It's
S-O.
like, right? Is it double N?
Yeah.
It is, right? See, I got it. I just get nervous because I've done it wrong so many
I
times.
straight up thought you were asking him if he knew how to write his
I
own
was.
name.
Because there was a pause there.
Man, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
There's also one more thing I wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
We're not done yet.
Oh, wait.
Alright.
Oh, I thought it was way later than it was.
I mean, we are done, but I wanted to talk about this too. I forgot I brought this.
Sick.
So you guys did something cool over COVID. Check this out.
Yeah.
Oh, I know this is the
Yeah.
band's logo from the Wikipedia
That's right.
article.
Oh, you got one of the ones that was printed on the bottom.
Yeah, the first ones.
That's cool. I've never seen this before. That worked.
Do you want him to
look good
sign
like
it?
that.
What?
Do you want him to sign your map?
I just wanted to
Breathe-
talk
breathe with
about
the marker.
a cool
Yeah.
thing you guys did during COVID.
Yeah.
Was you guys took your merch shirts and turned them into masks
Oh,
right.
and
it's
to
made
raise
of old
money
merch.
for
That's right.
for the essential workers. What was
Essential
it?
workers in New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
great, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite a process, man. Let me tell you, because we
I don't know if you guys
started
could see it, but
Oh, yeah, hold it up.
we started converting our merch,
Mm.
and then OSHA changed the guidelines on it.
oh,
So we still were able to get them converted, but they weren't allowed to be used by the essential workers anymore. But we had already pledged,
Yeah.
so we decided to sell those to
that's smart.
manufacture
Yeah.
masks for fans, and then all the proceeds to that would go to the essential workers.
Smart.
so,
instead.
so I got the ones from the t-shirts.
I think you got the actual legit, we manufactured
Nice.
those. But even that was so hard because people wanted masks.
Yeah, it
so
was
it
a
was really
boom.
hard to find somebody to. But actually, I think we were one of the first ones from a band to do it
That's
because
sick.
we ended up getting a lot of coverage that we probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Rolling Stone and Esquire and stuff like that. Which I feel like if we weren't one of the first ones,
Right.
they'd be like, also Thursday.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Also Thursday did this. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Yeah, so I guess we could wrap it up.
It's too bad we did it though for a disease that doesn't exist. No, just kidding.
Okay, let's add a few hours.
We almost got
get
done
this
with the
guy outta
podcast
here.
without me throwing Sonny under the bus.
Get
but
this
I
guy
felt
out of here. So we get to Joe Rogan.
I mean, you can still cut this part if you needed to.
That's so
you know what I'm
funny. I
saying?
love it.
So what are your thoughts on the vaccine?
Oh my God.
I do know that when I had we had to cancel a show because I got sick. I got a pneumonia. And we didn't say anything about COVID or whatever. We just were like, Jeff's too sick to.
Yeah.
It's been years. It's been 15 years since I was too sick to play.
Yeah.
But I was coughing up blood. There's just no way it was going to happen, you know? So I was home and we just posted due to one of the members being too sick, we have to cancel this show. And there's this guy, every comment that's I guess you think you're so fucking woke now.
What? For being
Just,
ill?
And he just kept on telling everybody to go fuck themselves, that we were so woke and that
Because you couldn't play because you're sick.
yeah.
How dare
It's
you?
you're sick.
Cool.
Has nothing to do with politics.
Yeah. I was like, well, you really.
illness.
Yeah, I was like,
Stupid libtard.
now that you came in here and told me that I was a woke piece of shit, I changed my ways and now I can play on Saturday because I'm not sick
Yeah,
anymore.
that was the medicine you needed.
Yeah,
As if you
you
don't-
got me.
As if you don't want to play the show or something.
Yeah. for real.
No, it's only a New Jersey show, which are always the most amazing shows for us.
Yeah.
I'd really like to cancel it because I'm woke. Whatever that even means at this point.
It's ridiculous.
Um,
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jeff. You really.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. You really brought us down at the end of this.
Thanks for coming. I'm so happy I'm able to talk to you and get you here.
Dude, this is Come On Sonny's podcast and didn't even get to talk about memes at all.
Hell yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though.
We could talk
We'll have an
about
episode too.
I do kind of want to talk about
Let's
memes
do
a
it.
little
Let's
bit.
talk about it.
And I want to tell you why.
Yes.
Because I was talking to Jen Pelly, who is one of the writers at Pitchfork. And her sister also, Liz Pelly, is a writer at Pitchfork too. They wrote some really amazing pieces. A lot of the reporting, the investigative reporting about Spotify and how they pay artists and stuff
Oh, yeah.
Right.
came from the Pelly sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at Basilica Soundscape or one of those festivals,
yeah.
you know? And she said something to me, which is that memes are the new movies. That memes are more powerful as social currency than movies, which I thought was very interesting.
I don't think she's completely far off there. I mean, just based on the way, I mean, he's obviously the expert, but the changing shape of people's attention spans, it would just make sense. Like,
and her case study was personal because she had been a meme. Because her and her twin sister had a meme that was like, the meme was like, when you go to school dressed as your twin sister and take her photo for her. And it was like, one was like preppy and the other one was like a metalhead goth like girl. But it was clearly her in both pictures. It wasn't her and her twin. And that became a meme. And she said that like, she had done all this other stuff. She had published books and whatever.
But that was the thing. But when
she would go to parties, kids would freak out and ask for her autograph because they recognized her from the meme. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. And it was like a cultural thing. So if memes are the new movies, I want to know your opinion. Which director is Sunny? I've got my own theory.
That's a really good question. Yeah. I mean, there's like a touch of absurdism, right? Like, but it's also palatable to a wide audience. Uh-huh. Is it like an insult to say Wes Anderson? No. Like,
oh wow, I was thinking Scorsese.
Oh, I mean, obviously you're like a legend. That's way cooler. But like, I was just gonna say it's like, you know, a little weirdness.
Yeah.
But very like acceptable by most people.
Cool. I was also kind of thinking
Scorsese's way cooler.
If we got to go younger generation, because he's also sort of like, with the way things move so fast, he's also sort of OG.
Yeah, like, I'm like a grandfather at this point.
Yeah, you're definitely like
grandfathered in.
You're too like old in the scene to be Wes Anderson.
Yeah,
right. Or even because like I was kind of style wise, there's something that reminds me of who's the director of like the Florida Project.
Oh, I can't remember his name. And also Tangerine.
Tangerine, and the new one was Red Rocket.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name.
Let's see.
But there's a little bit of like his style and what you do.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
What is that?
What if I was just like Werner Herzog? Werner Herzog.
Who is the Werner Herzog of memes? That's what I'm going to be obsessed with that for the next couple days.
I want it to be it though. That's like my goal. Who's the director? Let's find it.
Let's see.
Oh, Sean Baker.
Sean Baker, that's it. He's cute. He's got like, there's pictures of him with an emo haircut actually.
Man.
Yeah, that I'm looking at it right now.
Yes,
yeah.
I love Willem Dafoe. Man.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe's the jam.
I hope one day I can be a movie director or something.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe one day a movie director is going to want to be me.
Yeah,
that's right. Young movie directors be like, "Oh man,
Scorsese's going to hit
like
me
the
up
sunny side up of movies.
We need you for the memes.
For the Irishman 2.
Meme edition.
The Irishman 2. Irishman, did you watch that movie?
I did.
I thought it was funny that like
the faces, man.
Oh God, they used a building in my neighborhood in it. I guess it's a really expensive restaurant now.
It was a little uncanny valley for me.
Yeah.
Where like I just couldn't stop thinking like, look at that dude's face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all the like fake faces glowed a little. Did you notice?
Yeah,
that?
they were a little effervescent.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like Legolas. They all looked like Legolas. They had Legolas skin.
They're all a little schmeagle. You know?
Oh man.
Damn. I've been watching that show. You ever watch Better Call Saul?
It's great.
You're like up to date?
I'm a little behind.
Oh my God. Shit is nuts.
How many seasons are there now?
6.
I have a little hard time.
I'm way too far.
The Cinnabon season was tough for me. I like sputtered in there a little.
Oh no, it wasn't a season. It was just like, oh, you're saying like when they show like the intro. You know what that is though, right? When they show that, when they show him at Cinnabon.
What do you mean?
That's him after Breaking Bad. Yeah. So now they were just showing like in the intro like the cold opens.
But like that was just a little tough for me.
Yeah. How come?
A couple of those episodes.
Just watching him. The whole point is like showing him that he's like sad and.
Yeah.
I guess that.
I think I have enough of that in my life.
Yeah. Did you guys ever watch House of Cards? Remember that show on Netflix?
I did watch House of Cards.
And
yes.
I don't know what happened. Like I was just in a like
What's
mental
his name? Kevin Spacey.
The bad man.
I don't know if I was just in like in a particularly mentally bad place, but like there was one episode of that show that I watched and it tripped me out beyond belief. Like I couldn't really watch TV at night anymore for a while. It scared me so bad. It's just like sometimes TV or a movie will do that.
That's how Liza was with Euphoria.
Before bed, you can't watch certain things before bed.
She couldn't. The episode where like Rue can't pee.
Yeah.
she was like, this is giving me really bad flashbacks to our life together, like before you got sober.
Yeah, bad feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's hard because it speaks to like the power of the work or whatever, but it doesn't mean that you can hack it.
No.
I remember when I was a kid, my dad took me to see Hotel Rwanda at the like independent movie theater in my town. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I've never seen a movie like this. This is incredible. And I asked for it on DVD for Christmas.
Yeah.
Not realizing that like, that's not really a movie that you rewatch over and over. Like, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt about this. This song came out last week. This band Chat Pile. Have you heard about them yet?
Mm-mm.
They're kind of like a noisy amphetamine reptile, like Jesus Lizard type bands.
Yeah.
Kind of weird band, but they have a song called Why. And it's just him like screaming at the top of his lungs, like, why do people have to live outside?
Damn,
like,
hell yeah.
And like, it's kind of weird because it makes you sort of uncomfortable and like you almost want to laugh because it's such a like, it's so direct, but it's also it's just something that's like, yeah, dude, you're not the first person to ever think of like homelessness being bad.
Yeah.
But also it's like, it's so real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's hard to like know what emotional reaction to have because on one hand you're like, all right, what's the solution though? And on the other hand you're like, yeah, it just feels good to be mad about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To hear somebody actually like appropriately upset about it.
Yeah.
And then I listened to it and was like, okay, that's art.
Yeah.
And then I played it for my parents and I was like, I don't want to listen to this ever again. This makes me feel terrible.
Dude, sometimes I have something that I think is just like so incredible and like I went through like a bad time about a year and a half ago. I stayed with my mom for 10 days and she was letting me choose the movie every night, which all my favorite movies are extremely bleak.
Yeah.
And so the first 2 nights we watched like whatever I wanted. Like we were watching like, you know, Doomed Love, like Portrait of a Lady on Fire, whatever. Mm-hmm. And the third night she was like, can we watch something like a little lighter than usual? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I picked that documentary about people living in the villages and the retirement community in Florida. And I was like, this is like upbeat for me. And at the end, my mom was just like, what the fuck, Rachel? Like, why can't you?
Awesome.
So sometimes when you share something with your parents, you're like,
Have you gotten down with Bellatar yet?
Mm-mm.
Oh, this is a director you should check out.
Okay.
Famous for a 7.5-hour movie called Satan Tango.
Hell yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, the director is legit a genius.
Okay.
But it's also bleak Eastern European.
I like that.
Bleak.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
Woo! Great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Can I?
If you're lost, you can look and you will find me.